Hello and welcome to the first of what I hope is many freeform videos on the channel. Usually I have things scripted out, I have demo dump for, let's plays and all that sort of stuff, but usually I have things very, very heavily scripted, so this is a first for me where I don't have it scripted. I'm also trying to use a new camera. That might come out in the wash, we'll have to see. I don't know how much of this is going to end up being just complete rambling me, and I'm going to have to, future me is going to have to edit the life out of it, and hopefully there's not too much to cut out, but you never know. With me, this is just how it goes. The main reason I wanted to make this video was just around the trailer for Silent Hill F. So this just came out the other day. I think it was like 3 days ago from the time of recording, but by the time this video comes out, it'll have been about a week old. And this trailer looks unreal. I kind of want this to be like a trailer reaction, just not as low effort as a lot of trailer reactions where there's just people literally like soy jack just at the, or like pog face at the video. It seems a bit daft. So for me, this is the first trailer I've seen in ages that really makes me want to talk about a game. It feels like forever ago that I've had a trailer come up, and I'm genuinely excited about it. Like even the GTA 6 one, which a lot of people were like, whoa, GTA 6, look at all this. A lot of people tore that trailer to shreds, but for me, I just sort of saw it and was like, yeah, this looks like GTA. But when it comes to Silent Hill F, I genuinely thought that this was like a well-shot trailer that showed a lot of stuff, said a lot of stuff without saying anything. But also, it just looked like my cup of tea, sort of distilled down to like the primitive elements of what makes a decent horror game. So I just kind of had to talk about it. I'm going to keep referring to it as Silent Hill F. I don't know if it's meant to be Silent Hill Forte, loads of people were saying when it was first announced, because the F looks like the Forte on music notation. I don't know how much that's actually going to come into the game, or whether or not that was just like a random thing that they've picked. I have absolutely no idea, but I'm just going to call it F for the rest of the video. So if that annoys you, just prepare yourself, because there's going to be a lot of effing in this. So the trailer itself, I'll intercut it with me talking. The trailer itself was very much not a gameplay trailer. There were some bits that looked almost like gameplay, but I think it was basically just cutscenes from the game mixed with some CG stuff, like promo material type thing. So there wasn't any sort of over-the-shoulder, here's what this looks like. I imagine they're going to go for an over-the-shoulder camera, but there wasn't anything specifically gameplay-wise. All of it was just pure vibes and pure horror, and it looked great. They've already come out and said it's set in 1960s Japan, in a place called, and I want to get this right, Ebisugaoka. And I almost guarantee that I've gotten that wrong. And I actually am learning Japanese, and I still could not figure out, just reading that, how on earth to pronounce it, because it's a made-up village. It's not a real place in Japan, so you can't look it up and figure it out. The name's derived from an old fishing god in Japanese mythology, I believe, or Japanese religion. So yeah, set in an old Japan, the fog rolls in, and then things start getting spooky. I love Japan as a setting. Anywhere that has a Japanese setting, I'm immediately a sucker for. I'm eyeing Assassin's Creed, the new one, Shadows. I am eyeing that, and I'm thinking, could I? Could I? And then I kind of realize, it's from Ubisoft, so no, let's not be silly. But things like Ghost of Tsushima, absolutely incredible game, and I think the setting of Japan is always great for like really heavy, rich story, great visuals. The art style of any game in Japan just always seems to be incredible, and it looks like we're getting the exact same sort of thing here. We're getting really big like manga horror vibes. Like I've been reading PTSD Radio. I don't know if anyone's ever checked that out, but PTSD Radio is very much a similar sort of thing where it's the origin of the thing that it is. It's like a curse came from like an old village like that where they all pay attention to the old gods, and if you don't respect them, bad things can happen. And it seems very much that's what they're going for here, which does kind of tie into the usual Silent Hill stuff of old gods, respecting the old gods, and this is the kind of horror you can face if you don't. So I genuinely think the rural setting is going to play to its favor. The one thing I do find a bit odd is who you play as. So you play as a teenage schoolgirl, which seems, again, it seems very manga-esque. It seems very much like, I don't know, like something like Dandadan, where people are all teenagers, but they're in a very mature setting, and it seems almost like tonally off, how you can be like a teenager but then have this sort of horror vibe alongside it. I do wonder where they're going to go with it. I do wonder how they're going to be able to do anything with it, because when it comes to violence and gore, there's only so much you're allowed to show to children, especially if they're not an adult. They've already said that there's going to be no guns in this game. It's all going to be melee-based combat, which is great. It'll be good. I hope it's better melee combat than the Silent Hill 2 remake, which was good, but I feel that it needed work. But I think that having guns out of the game is purely because, well, one, because of the setting, but two, I think it's because they can't show a teenager running around with a gun. I think it just, in the current climate, it just doesn't sit right. So they're avoiding that altogether and avoiding any sort of controversy in that respect altogether. But yeah, how much gore can you get away with when you have the protagonist is a teenage girl and all of the characters around her seem to be teenagers as well? I mean, the trailer showed her face coming off, like literally her face getting chopped off in half, like face off styled face chopping off. I think that they're not afraid to go there. It looks like it's the highest rated or the most mature rated game in Japan. It seems it's coming out as the highest rated game in Japan. So I don't know. It could be genuinely really, really gory and horrifying, but I find it very odd that they've went with not an adult. If you look back on the short message, the previous Silent Hill game, the mini game thing, where it was like an hour or something, that was also set. The protagonist you played was also a teenager. So I wonder if there's just something that it's like they're trying to tell some sort of story around teens with Silent Hill, and I'm not sure what it is, but I feel like whatever it is, they're really leaning heavily onto teenage protagonists. So we'll have to just see what it's like. We'll have to see what it's like. I hope the writing's better, because the writing for Short Message was dire, and it was very cliched. But I think because it's set in the 1960s, I think they're going to draw very much from, sentiments at that time. They've already got a content warning on the page, saying that because it's set around the 60s cultures of Japan, there's going to be certain things, certain intolerances. Not necessarily, I don't think there's going to be any sort of like racism or anything like that, but I think there will be quite a heavy sort of sexism angle of this is a young girl. Young girls have a set defined role in 60s Japan. She's not going to be allowed to do X, Y, and Z. She's not going to be able to go and do this or go and do that, and it'll be expectations from her family and her peers, and that'll be probably what is presented as the horror. There'll probably be a lot of things about where she's unsure about where she's going to go in her life, what she's going to do in her life. There is a mention of a big choice that she's going to be forced to make, a big decision that she's going to be forced to make by the end of the game. So no matter what, she's going to have to make this decision. We don't know what the decision's going to be. It could be literally anything, but it also revolves a lot around her friends, and it says that her friends have already abandoned her. So I'm not sure what it is that she's wanting to do. My immediate sort of gut reaction is something about leaving the village that she's in. And that's the big decision that she's going to make, is she going to leave everyone behind and go somewhere else on her own? And you playing the game, it's whether or not you can overcome all of the different fears you have and all the different things that the main character is going to have to deal with. And can you overcome all of these things to show that you're mature enough to go off and be by yourself in an era where a lot of people in that time, in that location, were looking down on women and saying, you can't do this. This isn't something that you can do. So I think it'll be pretty interesting to see where it goes. I'll probably be wrong. It'll probably be some sort of really otherworldly decision or something. We'll have to see. It could be anything. Come on. Next thing I want to mention is just the absolutely spot on artistic design here. The red flowers, I think they're a kind of lily. The red flowers being used instead of your typical Silent Hill thing where everything goes rusty. You can see certain bits of the trailer where she collapses, and you can see like all of the flowers just sort of spread out as she collapses. I think it's really good to show something beautiful just juxtaposed with something horrifying. I think probably the best thing I can think of like that at the minute is the Last of Us TV show. That just released a season 2 trailer just recently, and you can see sort of a half mushroomified person breathing out spores, and you can see the spores all across the wall that they're connected to and they're sort of melted to. And it's that kind of stuff that I really love, where you can sort of see the beauty in something horrific. Something like Annihilation, like that movie looked really, really good. It was a bit mind-boggly, but the actual movie itself looked really good, and the whole idea of things sort of crossing over and merging together, but also looking beautiful. So it looked incredible, but also was really horrifying. And I think that there's something really good about that. And I kind of liked the flower monster in Short Message, just to go back to that game again. The monster in Short Message genuinely was quite cool looking. I like the idea of the flowers on the person who's like a monster. I'll try and get some footage, or at least a picture of it, to show you what they look like. And on top of that, of course, you've got the monster design. You can't go wrong with a good Silent Hill monster. You know, the idea behind all of the different Silent Hill monsters is their representations of inner turmoil, their past demons, their old habits, things that sort of haunt you, things that follow you around, things that were designed to make you suffer. You know, the idea being that you're suffering in your head, and then you suffer physically in the other world of Silent Hill, as it were. And I do really think that that weird puppet thing that comes down the stairs, that's like half a person, that already looks incredible. There's been some other ones. I'll try and get some like freeze frames if I can, and throw them up on the screen. There's been a few bits where you basically just get like a flash of some sort of monster design. It might not even be a monster you fight. It might be a boss, but it might just be like a cutscene set piece or something like that, where it just flashes up on the screen briefly and then you don't see it again. But all of this stuff looks really good, and it reminds us kind of the PT second trailer, where you started getting these sort of really grotesque, messed up things that just kind of look, it sort of approximated a human. It wasn't even close to a human. I like that sort of idea, and getting away from the sort of BDSM style chains and leather straps that you kind of got near the end, or the more recent Silent Hill games, not including the Silent Hill 2 remake. But there was a lot of stuff like the Schism, I think it was called, from Silent Hill Homecoming, and stuff like that, where it was a lot of emphasis on blades and chains and black leather. I think we want to move away from that and try and get a bit more grounded. And even if things are completely messed up, you know, in the Japanese setting, I genuinely believe it can't go wrong. I'm being extremely hopeful here. I'm fully behind Team Silent F, Silent F, Silent Hill F at this point. So I fully believe that whatever they're making, so far at least, if this is the trailer, so far I'm genuinely in on it. I think the combat only being melee, it depends on how the melee combat is. So they want to have to refine that so much to not make that boring, because the Silent Hill 2 remake, that had a lot of melee combat in it, and that was so easy to exploit, and it genuinely got to the point where you were basically invincible. So I think that there's probably going to be a bit more emphasis on running away from things, which we saw in the Short Message, but I'm not a massive fan of run away from the enemy, because 9 times out of 10, you'll go the wrong way because it hasn't been quite well telegraphed which way to go, and then you die. So it's going to be a bit of a struggle to get used to, I think. But I also think that it could be really good. I just don't want too much emphasis on running away from things all the time. So the last thing I wanted to address a little bit was the sentiment that I've seen online, and I know it's usually just a vocal minority. There's a lot of people saying, oh, it's not a Silent Hill game. And they're basically going, you can't just put a game in a village, put some fog in it, and go, it's Silent Hill. And I kind of, in a way, I do understand the motivation behind that, the sort of the logic behind it, as it were. I do get it. I do get where people sort of go, oh, you can't just put fog on it and call it Silent Hill. Kind of the same as with the rust, replacing the rust with the flowers. A lot of people are saying it looks great, but why does it have to be a Silent Hill game? Why couldn't it be a new IP? And the real answer to that is, you're going to have to just wait and find out. Unfortunately, you're just going to have to wait and find out, because you don't know how much Silent Hill DNA is in there. So for me, Silent Hill has always been about the vibes. If you look at Silent Hill 3, technically, if you look at Silent Hill 4, there's a lot of Silent Hill 4 that isn't technically in Silent Hill, I guess. I mean, you kind of teleport to different places that are near it, but I don't think you actually ever go to Silent Hill, the place. So yeah, to me at least, Silent Hill's always been a bit more of about a vibe. It's about, guilty people feeling punished. It's about people overcoming trauma. It's all that sort of stuff. It's not something that you necessarily need to. It has to be in Silent Hill. It has to have Pyramid Head. It has to have Rusty stuff. All that sort of stuff. I don't think it needs it. I don't think it needs to be in that realm. I think we'll have to just wait and see as to how it's actually tied together. Like I say, the village itself is named after an old fishing god, so it could be that they're bringing in the old gods and the cult from Silent Hill 3. We're just going to have to wait and see. Yeah, so this is my first random one-off, slightly trailer reaction-y type videos, freeform, with just a couple of notes to kind of keep me on track and stop me from digressing for 20 minutes. It's just the first time that I've been really excited for a game based off the trailer alone. It kind of makes me think about the days when I was reading game magazines and sort of sitting and going through, flicking over the same pages over and over and over again, because, I'm that old. Stuff like YouTube didn't exist when I was a kid. So it's just good to see stuff that actually excites me in gaming these days, because, the AAA stuff's very few and far between in terms of what's actually good. Hopefully, I don't regret it, but we'll have to see. If you like this type of video, please drop a like, drop a comment. Let's just talk about games, anything to do with Silent Hill F. Just hit me up in the comments. I'll reply to every single one that's positive. I always do. Yeah, if you've got anything you want to say, you want to talk about, drop it in the comments. Subscribe if you like this sort of stuff. If you like reviews, deep dives, let's plays, I'm even doing lists now, all that sort of stuff. There will be a deep dive coming soon. I'm committing it to video now. The script is almost finished, so I am committing to doing the deep dive fairly soon in the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping to have it out, but there is at least one more review I want to do before that. I hope you definitely look after each other, and I'll catch you soon. Goodbye.